Welcome to Life with Long COVID with me, Paul Clark. It's estimated that around 400 million people are suffering from the effects of what is now called Long COVID globally. There are probably many more people suffering but not able to articulate what is wrong with them. This podcast was started for one reason and one reason only: that those suffering will not feel like they're on their own. Well, hello and welcome to Life with Long COVID. My name is Paul Clark. I am the host of this podcast. If we've not met before, it's a pleasure to meet you. Or if you're a regular returning, welcome back and thank you for downloading, listening to this episode. Today, I'm going to largely reflect on what it's like to feel like you're still here. I'll explain more about what I mean by that, he says, trying to get his words out of brain fog into action. One of the things that we don't talk about with long COVID is not the kind of dramatic events, not the times when you feel particularly wiped out or the times when you feel particularly well. One of the things we don't talk about probably enough is day in, day out, what it's like to live with this chronic illness long term. I'm coming up to between 4 or 5 years. I keep it depends how you measure it, but yeah, with certainly more than 4 years now I've had long COVID, and I'm at the stage now where I manage the condition day to day. But in doing so, sometimes I forget that I've got a chronic condition. Let me explain. It's like chronic illness becomes your new normal, and managing my energy levels, dealing with foggy brain, dealing with the mobility issues that comes with it, all these things just become part of your normal day. Whereas at first it was a shock. It took me time to get used to. I went through an anger stage where it's like, well, why isn't this gone? And obviously I've been through plenty of stages where my mental health has been affected, and I'm sure I'll probably go all those things again. But more than 4 years later, I manage with it. I manage and cope, and I have to make excuses for things I can't do. I consider it to be a win for the things I can, and I day to day manage the condition the best way I possibly can. And even after 4 years, I'm still learning, because my body continues to change and adapt. And it's in those moments, it's in the day-to-day, long-term managing of the chronic illness, in which you can easily forget that you're chronically ill at all, because it becomes so normal, such a part of everyday life, that you forget what you were like before or the energy level other people have got. And this, for me, I'm lucky enough to have Rachel, my wife, who sometimes I'll say to her, I don't know how you can drive and do that in the morning and then do something else in the afternoon. Surely you can't do that. Your energy levels must dip. And she says to me, Paul, I haven't got a chronic illness. My energy doesn't get depleted in the same way yours does. And it's a timely reminder for me. It's a wake-up call for me. And I think, oh yeah, you're right, actually. I can't judge everybody by the same energy levels that I've got. And I'm probably explaining this very badly, but this is what living with chronic illness is like. It's dealing with things and normalising things to such an extent that it becomes the new normal, and you forget that actually you have a chronic illness, and that most people don't have to go around carefully measuring their energy levels the way they have been. What I am tired of doing, though, over these 4 or 5 years is having to continuously fight for my own medical care and attention. This is not just down to chronic illness. I think this is down to the fact that the medical services here in the UK, and maybe where you are as well, are completely overwhelmed and unable to deal with conditions such as long COVID, such as ME/CFS, because they're just overwhelmed with people contacting them. There's not enough provision to go around. Now, there's all sorts of political reasons why those cutbacks have happened and why that is the case, but the upshot is that for somebody with a long-term chronic illness that they cannot prescribe anything for, it's real battle to get help. You have to, if you think a treatment might help you, you have to meticulously research it yourself, and you have to be a champion of your own health, and you have to have the resilience to be able to keep pushing until you get access to that treatment. For example, recently I've wanted a change to my medication, my mental health medication, my antidepressants. My mental health has suffered tremendously since I've had long COVID, and it fluctuates all the time. But more recently I felt that a change in my medication might do me good. And as it is the case with the GP service these days, you have to put in what they call an e-consult, so you do it all online, and then hopefully what you get is a callback from a doctor. The golden ticket, of course, is a visit in surgery, but I've had 1 or 2 of those in the last year, but they're gold dust, I'll tell you. But at the moment, GP surgery that I attend seem to outsource everything to the pharmacist as soon as you mention the word tablets, and I've got nothing against pharmacists whatsoever. They are specialists in their field. What I actually wanted was not to talk about the actual drugs themselves as far as me, holistically, with all of the conditions that I've got, with the conditions that long COVID, surprises you with the secondary conditions. I wanted to have a reasonable talk to the GP about whether or not I should change medication. Whereas the pharmacist is wonderful, but they basically say to you, well, it's up to you. These are what the drugs do, so you can have this or you can have that. And I don't feel well enough to make that decision. Certainly not at the moment. I want somebody to say, this is the best thing for you, this is what you're going to try. But only a doctor can do that. Only a registered doctor can do that. And I've tried twice now to get to speak to a doctor, and I can't, because they just push it back to the pharmacist. And the poor pharmacist, there's only so much they can do. They can present you with the options, and they can prescribe things. They seem to have power to do that. But you can't have that kind of conversation that you would normally do with a GP. And so I go on, and I will have to contact them again and again until I'm able to talk to a doctor. And I don't want to be a burden upon them, but it's a good example of us having to be champions of our own mental health, even if at times we feel completely overwhelmed and do not have the energy to do so. We have to fight for neurologist appointments. We have to fight for medication. We have to fight for different forms of therapy through the GP. And because we don't fit into these neat boxes, it's really hard to get them. You have to keep banging the door down until you can have a reasonable conversation with somebody about it. So that's where I am this week. And to top it all off, Friday I recorded this episode, and something glitchy happened, so the whole of the audio was spoiled, and then I haven't had the energy since to re-record it. So I apologise for this being a bit later than it normally would. I'm recording this on the Monday. I would normally have got this out and ready the Friday before. But it has given me the weekend to kind of reflect on what I've said, what I want to say. And it's taken me that time to kind of recharge enough to be able to re-record it again. Good things that are going on at the moment. Well, the oxygen therapy continues to be good. I wrote an article about that last week. And one of the real things is this sense of community. You know, meeting people in the oxygen tank has been fantastic. People that have freely offered, experiences about their condition, which we do together online. We share ideas, we connect with one another to remind each other that we're not on our own. But doing that in real time in the oxygen tank is amazing, and the treatment continues to be beneficial for the time after I've had that treatment. And as I said in the article, I don't know if it's going to be cumulative. I don't know. The more I do it, the more benefits I'll receive, or they'll kind of take me to different depths. We'll see. I will keep you updated on that. I've got a bit of a gap now because I had one last week, but I haven't got another one until the end of this week. This is the only time I could get slotted in. So it'll be interesting to see that gap and see how it feels once I do it again in about 4 days' time. But I will be reporting back on Friday as to how that goes on and how long the kind of effects last for, because there's absolutely no doubt at all that's given me more energy. And certainly it's got rid of the brain fog for at least a few hours after I've had that oxygen treatment. And better sleep that night as well. So I continue to be hopeful about that. And hope that I can continue that treatment now for the short term. How are you doing? You know, this podcast is as much about connecting you as it is me talking about my condition. I want you to feel like you're not on your own. I wonder how long you've had long COVID for. Has it been a similar time to me? Have you had it for years? Are you still, like me, learning about your condition? Or, of course, it could be a relatively new thing because COVID infections continue to happen. People continue to respond to them. And I can only imagine what it must be like to get an infection now and develop long COVID. It's hard enough, has been hard enough historically to get people to even talk about COVID and long COVID, because most people think COVID's done and dusted, but they must think doubly so if you've only just had COVID and now starting to struggle with long COVID symptoms. I would love to hear from you, whether you go to www.lifewithlongcovid.co.uk and join the community there. You can sign up, you can do it for free, or you can choose to donate a small amount of money a month to cover the cost of the podcast and the community. Either way, it doesn't matter. You get the same thing. It's open to everybody who could benefit from it. And there you can comment on this episode, or you can even chat with me direct, and I answer everybody's messages and answer everybody's comments. So it'd be great to hear from you. How long have you had long COVID for? And a little bit about how you've changed during that period, because there's no doubt at all that chronic illness changes you from the inside out. And I've said before, I'd like to think now that I'm much more reflective. I live much more in the moment than I did previously. And you know what, other thing I've been struck by talking to people in the oxygen tank and talking to people here online is the amount of people that did kind of high energy jobs. You know, as a vicar of 3 churches, I was constantly running on adrenaline at times, and it was a high energy job 6 days a week. And the amount of people I've spoken to who had developed either long COVID or ME or chronic fatigue syndrome, trying to say it properly, who have previously done a high profile job is more than anecdotal. It's been a feature again and again throughout the last 4 or 5 years since I've been talking about this. There seems to be a correlation between the type of person that you are, athletes, high profile jobs, people that are doing people that used to get on and do stuff all the time, have been struck by this illness. So be interested to hear how your life has changed and how long you've actually had this thing called long COVID for. I'll be back with another article soon, another experience from the oxygen chamber. I love that phrase. I may have a little subheading called From the Oxygen Chamber for my updates. And we will see each other again soon. But in the meantime, however you're feeling at the moment, whether you've got the energy to shower or not, whether you've got the energy to talk to somebody, however long you've lived with this illness for, just remember that you are not on your own. There are others. We are not confined to one area. I get emails from people around the world who are suffering the long-term effects of the COVID virus. And whilst that is awful and it's really sad, it tells you that you're not on your own, that what you're going through is not in your head, and that together we can talk about this and continue to champion for the healthcare and the recognition that we deserve. I'll see you again soon.